We get the best of both worlds. The fastest reflexes modern technology has to offer, onboard computer-assisted memory, and a lifetime of on-the-street law enforcement programming. It is my great pleasure to present to you RoboCop.
This week, The Making of introduces you to the future of law enforcement. Part man, part machine, RoboCop. The film is set in the near future, where the crime rate in the country has risen to alarming proportions. One of the hardest hit cities is Old Detroit, where a recent rash of cop killings has the police department searching for a solution to the problem. One of the newest officers in Old Detroit is Murphy, played by Peter Weller.
In comes a man named John Murphy, unsuspecting, good cop, street cop, wife, kid, easygoing guy, wants to support mankind, humanity, do the right thing. Not a tough guy, he's very easygoing. Becomes the unwitting subject of this experiment and is turned into a robot. Becomes a killing machine. But, through a series of circumstances and events, he begins to have a taste of what was once his humanity, and it confuses him. And curiously enough, he starts off on a road of not only vengeance, but a road on rediscovering what it was to be human.
Hello, hi, hey, come on guys. There's nothing there, just give me a little bit more there.
For director Paul Verhoeven, RoboCop marks not only his first American feature, but also his initial plunge into the special demands of science fiction.
For the slates. Ready? Action! Yeah, jammed is actually the same moment, but we can intercut it, yeah?
I think that he wanted to make the movie, and he did make the movie, for American sensibilities, not for European sensibilities. Still, the obliqueness of it and some of the humor and the wit and the social milieu that the jackpot of little goodies that he throws in is from Europe. So it's tremendously unique.
When I got I think you know that when I got the script for the first time and I saw the title and I read RoboCop and then, of course, saw that it was science fiction stuff, and I didn't want to deal with science fiction stuff. I was really, at that moment, living in Europe. I just wanted to do films about realistic elements, yeah? I wanted to do films about the real life. And so, after a couple of months later, I think they still hadn't found a director, I got a phone call from somebody at Orion asking me if I had read it, and I said, no, I didn't read it. She said, well, you should certainly read it. And then, with a lot of non-very sympathetic feelings, I started to read it, and I was not really completely convinced. It's not like seeing the heavens open or something like that, but when I put it down again, when I read it, it stayed in my mind, and it slowly started to, because what I saw was the possibility to do this kind of science fiction action picture, but that underneath the whole story there was something about the human mind or the human soul.
I better drive until you know your way around.
I usually drive when I'm breaking in a new partner. I personally think that this is the best thing Nancy Allen ever did. I personally think that this is the most vulnerable and charming and delightful and moving and touching that I've ever seen her be.
I wasn't sure what you needed.
Nancy Allen plays Ann Lewis, Murphy's former partner, and later the cyborg's one true friend. Allen, best known for her roles in Dressed to Kill and Blowout, found a new challenge in RoboCop.
The thing that was really, all throughout the movie, there's only, Peter and I only have a few scenes in the beginning together as partners, and all the rest of the time I'm playing with the robot, and I was very nervous about how am I going to relate to this creature, you know, and Peter's such a wonderful actor. There was just You know, sometimes I look at him and is there anyone there? So I think because of how good he is at his job, it made it really easy for me.
Helping Weller make the character of RoboCop come to life was the RoboCop suit. The costume was designed and created by special effects makeup genius Rob Bottin, whose credits include The Howling and The Thing. Working with a team of 20 assistants, Bottin spent 10 months developing the RoboCop suit and 6 months building it. Dennis Pavlik, a member of the team that was responsible for working with the RoboCop suit, discusses its creation.
It came from a lot of months of talking to the director, Paul Verhoeven, and them going over what they wanted, sketches, building it out of clay, changing it, a lot of changing. And they finally, you know, agreed on one design. This is what you see.
It took 10 hours to get into it the first time. 10 hours. And then it took 6, and then we got it down to 4, and finally this amazing crew I had and support team, the robo team, we got it down to a smooth hour and a half every day. It was 128 degrees inside the thing. It was 105 degrees outside. I'm not saying Dallas, Texas, but it was about 128 degrees inside it. I would lose about 3 pounds of water weight a day.
For the robotic situations in the film, you have really to find out how a robotic element in a film can look convincing, that it doesn't look ridiculous or absurd, or you don't accept it at all, or it's an element that is completely out of style with the rest of the picture. So these are all things that are really new, I suppose. You're not talking about another galaxy or something like this. You are talking about our civilization, and you're bringing in robotic elements, and you have to make them convincing to your audience.
Drop the gun. You are under arrest. Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
Sometimes it's really difficult to get these things on paper, yeah? You really have to know the writer and to talk with him and find out what is the common opinion behind what is written in the lines.
It distinguished itself from other robot movies because it's about a guy who becomes a machine. It's a very violent movie. It's sort of a comedy, I think. I mean, if you like a good robot picture, this might be it.
Ed 209, a cannon-fisted enforcement droid, was going to be the answer to old Detroit's crime problem. But when Ed goes haywire, RoboCop gets the go-ahead. However, Ed 209 is intent upon reclaiming the title of the future of law enforcement. Producer John Davison hired some of the finest special effects artists in the business to create authenticity within the robots.
One of my earliest recollections of robots is sitting in front of a television set when I was 4 years old watching a local Philadelphia TV show called Mr. Rivets, and it was a man in a cardboard box painted silver. Hopefully we've done a little better than that. We have one of the all-star teams of special effects. We have Phil Tippett, Academy Award winner, doing all the stop-motion animation on the robot Ed 209.
Stop-motion animation is a frame-by-frame process where we move the stop-motion model, the arms, the legs, the feet, the tail, the eyes, the back, very infinitesimal amounts, and then we take one frame of film and repeat that process again. Take one frame of film, repeat the process, take one frame of film.
We have Pete Coran, who did all the roto effects in the Star Wars pictures. He's doing all our RoboVision shots, all the POVs of the robots.
Give me a grid. Target. Target. Now follow.
We have Rocco Joffrey, is probably the finest young matte artist in the United States, doing all our matte paintings.
on private property. You have 20 seconds to move your vehicle.
One of the pivotal scenes in RoboCop was shot in this deserted Dallas, Texas warehouse. Kurtwood Smith portrays Clarence Boddicker, the ruthless leader of the gang that killed Murphy. While Boddicker and his associates are making a drug deal, they are interrupted by RoboCop, now seeking revenge upon his executioners.
I've got protection!
You have the right to it from me!
Action will be everybody shooting, yes? So there will be... And then I do this.
The firepower, stunts, and special effects in RoboCop are truly awesome. Here, director Verhoeven consults with special effects man Dale Martin.
On action, our man's going to come in on action. You're going to see the whole wall get machine gunned and bagged with bullet hits. The glass will pop, the lights and all that. As he moves forward, we'll see some hits of cement, the ground, and then we'll throw some sparks off his body.
So it will be standing like this.
While Martin and his team are preparing the special effects, each scene is being carefully planned out. Because some of the action that will be taking place is considered dangerous, a stunt double for Peter Weller is used. Coordinating a film sequence such as this can be extremely difficult for all involved.
It was extraordinarily taxing physically. Not only that, for the stuntmen, all those guys, are 21 stuntmen. And the time, all of those things at once, while I'm in the suit shooting a gun and they're shooting and 4 cameras are working, and the heat.
Also feeling the heat were the veteran stuntmen involved in the scene. It was Gary Combs' responsibility as stunt coordinator to create the action that was to unfold.
Well, you have this sequence here, which is a big shootout. The robot comes in the building, kills all the baddies in the building, so that's not super dangerous. It's just, it requires a number of stunt people, a lot of bullet hits, a lot of blood bags and things like that, which those will all mainly put on stunt people. A couple little high falls, guys on air rams sailing through the air and through glass, being jerked back through barrels and things like that on an air ratchet. You know, the robot shooter gets a hold of his superhuman strength. He shoots a lot of firepower, so they want to see the impact of it.
Explosive charges called squibs are placed by the special effects crew. These squibs, when detonated, simulate bullet hits. Special protective vests are used when placing squibs on actors. Here, special effects employ a jerk vest, a special harness worn by the actor with a hook protruding in the back. A wire is attached, and when the squibs explode, the wire is jerked, and the actor will be pulled backwards, giving the effect of being blown away.
Okay, ready? Action! Cut it!
In this case, the film turns out to be much more complicated than you could foresee on paper. There are so many special effects that have never been done, that you have to find out during shooting, and there's nobody who can really help you immediately because you have to find it out all together. I think it's always when you do something new and you try to combine several elements that have never been used together, and you put them together suddenly and you find out that they don't work together, or they work together but you have to find out how.
Another element to be constructed was the design of Robo's gun. Verhoeven called upon Randy Moore to create the robot's artillery.
Coming up with something that's totally different visually that still works. You know, you can make all sorts of great modifications to a gun that looks very visually interesting and have something that doesn't work. So the object is to make it visually interesting and to make it also function.
This guy is really good.
He's not a guy, he's a machine.
What are they gonna do, replace us?
Portraying Bob Morton, the creator of RoboCop, is Miguel Ferrer, a man whose lust for power creates his own downfall.
He's like the most ruthless, ambitious agent who ever sat behind a desk at William Morris. That's how I equate it, you know. The writer calls him a yuppie with teeth. So, just a very ambitious, young, sort of up-and-coming, bright guy.
Ferrer, whose credits include Flashpoint and Star Trek III, was looking forward to working for his new director.
Real joy for me, I mean, is working with Paul Verhoeven, you know, truly. He's just unbelievable. I'm such a fan of his movies like everybody else.
He's a quick and inventive and unsettled guy. And that took getting used to, but once I got used to that, which really didn't take a large adjustment because I'm sort of unsettled and restless. And once I got used to that, we got used to each other, that's where we were going to begin, then it was phenomenal.
Phenomenal is also a good word for the stunts in RoboCop. Here, Verhoeven and Gary Combs plan a sequence that will find Clarence Boddicker crashing through a roof and onto the solid floor below. When the stunt is finished being choreographed, placement of cameras are selected, focused, and locked into position. The stunt team prepares by placing several mattresses on the area where Boddicker will land. Kurtwood Smith's stunt double rehearses his movements in this difficult scene. Finally, with cast and crew ready, film can be rolled.
Bang.
And action!
Beef it up.
Having completed this hazardous act, the stuntman is examined for any injuries. With no harm to account for, it's time to be ushered on to the next location for yet more grueling activity. As the action continues, Kurtwood Smith is brought in for close-ups. Here, Robo encounters his assailant and prepares to hurl him through a plate of glass.
Right. And action. Bomb. And go immediately.
Again, there is no margin for error when executing a hazardous stunt such as this.
Right.
Safety is always of the highest priority, and the stunt coordinator must make sure the act is performed correctly.
You become a technical advisor in certain ways. You become a safety advisor in a lot of ways, you know, because if somebody on the crew gets hurt while you're doing a stunt, it's going to become your responsibility, or they're going to come to me first and say, you know, how come that happened? Why'd the car run over the guy or whatever? So, I mean, in a lot of respects, you became involved in the safety factors of things for the whole crew, not just the stunt people.
And action! And go.
The success of any stunt sequence can be best measured when seen in the final action-packed version of the film.
Come quietly or there will be trouble. Clarence Boddicker, you are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent